guys, it's Amy with Amy Nyber Photography Education and Workshops. I am here today to fulfill a request that I had regarding how brushes work in Lightroom. And I was very happy to actually get those requests because when I sat down at the end of 2015 and made my goals for 2016, which, by the way, guys, are super important that you do, and you come up with a list and you work to achieve those because that's how you get better. My ultimate goal was to do 99% of my photo editing all by hand and to keep my photos under 5 minutes in editing so that I'm not spending 24 hours editing 10 pictures, which I have done because sometimes sessions just don't go as planned. But anyway, so I'm here to show you how these brushes in Lightroom work. And I'm sorry I have a snoring dog. If you happen to hear her in the background, sometimes she will snort. So this is a photo that I did for a client a few months ago. Very gorgeous, perfect family. And this is the photo that they received. So we're going to pretty much destroy it today because they already have it, and I'm going to show you how some of these brushes work. I'm going to go over temp, tint, I'll touch on exposure, highlights I would like to do if I can find the right photo. It may not be in this session though. Shadows, whites, blacks, I'll have to find the right one for dehaze if I do it, and the burn and the dodge are probably the ones that I'm really going to focus on. When this video is over, if I have not answered the questions that you had, please post them in the comments and let me know what your questions are so that I can get those answered for you. Brushes are amazing and they do great things, and it gives you more control over a photo than if you were using a preset. So as you can see, let me just click here. This right here is where you find your adjustment brushes in Lightroom, and when you click it and you go right here to effect, you can see all the different brushes you can use. These gray dots are where I've used an adjustment brush already. These are probably exposure, which is really great if you have a really pale person and a really tan person and it's really hard to meter and get skin tones right and stuff. So that's where these brushes come in handy because I can put exposure on her face if it's darker than what his or the kids are coming out of, so it's super cool. So let's start with temp, which is right here, your warmth and your cool, or as I like to say, my blues and my yellows. This is overall a very warm photo. If I remember right, it was not this warm when I took the picture. No. So you can see the difference in what my Lightroom brushes have done for this photo. Before and after, and I'm going to remove that. So one thing that I do notice right now is he is super warm in the face, which shouldn't be. So I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to reduce the size by either scrolling on your mouse or hitting your left bracket to make it smaller, or my right bracket to make it bigger. And with that, I'm going to click and I'm going to just brush his face. And as you can see, he's super yellow because my temp is set all the way to 100 on the yellow side. To fix this, I'm going to just drag it over until he does not look so much like an Oompa Loompa. Now he is super cold. Not super cold, but colder. So, there you go. His skin tone's a little better now. He's not quite Oompa Loompa, and he's not quite looking like he's freezing in Alaska. So, that's how that works. You can also use it to add a little light to the sky, which is pretty super cool. And then, let's see, you know what? Oops, my bad, right? They shouldn't be yellow. So instead of hitting Control Z, like if I've brushed this whole thing and I've made one oopsie, my mouse slipped or whatever, a kid bumped my arm, instead of hitting Control Z and having to warm it all back up again, I can go right here to my erase and I can just erase that right off where I accidentally warmed up my client where I didn't mean to. And that goes for all of your brushes. So, it added some light in the sky. He no longer looks like an Oompa Loompa. success with the temperature brush. The next one is tint, and I'm just going to kind of show you. I'm going to brush that on right here, and it's controlled here, and I can make something super pink, or I can make things super green. Tint's not one I use a whole lot, maybe every now and then. Some may use it more than me, but for the most part, it's not a brush I really use. So I'm going to just hit delete, and that gets rid of your brush completely. The next brush on the list is exposure. And for example, on this one, I'm going to say that her face right here is way too dark. So to fix that, I'm going to adjust my brush to about the size of her face. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to drag it down to where I want the light to stop. I'm going to come over here to my exposure, and I'm going to bump her up. See? And if I decide she needs a little light too, you know what? You're looking a little dark back here, Oompa Loompa. Perfect. So, another thing that I like to do, I'm going to hit new with this brush. You can do a vignette very slowly by scrolling all the way down to your highlight priority and adding one this way. However, I only want to add some darkness right here. So, I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Exposure, and I'm going to just brush it on, and there's actually another way that you can do this too, and I'll get to that brush here in a minute. But that is super dark for what I want, so I'm just going to bump up the exposure on that a little, and that's going to add a little shadow depth to their feet. So that's your exposure brush. You brush on where you want to add light or reduce light. Pretty simple. So the next one is highlights, and for this one, I'm actually going to show you, I know which one I'm going to pull up for this one. Okay. So the one thing that I'm known for is not using sky overlays in my photos, and it is, to be honest, something I'm completely proud of. If I blow out a sky, generally I can bring that sky back, and I love it. So I'm going to show you how I do that with the highlights brush. And I'm going to use this photo from, again, a few months ago. And I'm going to use this one because I played with it. And this isn't the actual photo itself. This is something else. So I'm going to hit reset. See, I was playing with sky. Yeah. Reset. Come on. It's not going to reset. I just remembered it's this one. Okay. So I'm going to hit reset on that. And it's gone. Now remember how super cool it looked? I blew out here, I got some here, I got some here, but it's still not all the way back. Instead of slapping a preset on it, or not a preset, a fake sky in Photoshop, I'm going to go to my highlights brush because I don't want to reduce the highlights in the overall photo. And then I'm going to brush my sky. I need to find a photo that is completely blown out and show you how I bring this back. But when you blow out a sky, what you're doing is you're blowing out your highlights. So, and it comes right back. Pretty cool, right? So, another thing that you can do, and we just talked about this, is the tint brush. If I want to make this super warm over here, I can add some overall warmth to the whole sky, because it's kind of cool. And the whole photo is going to have an overall warm feeling, then I just use my my tint brush that on, and voila, it's warm. So that is my super cool trick on my skies. Funny story, I once had a girl tell me she wanted to shoot with me because she loves where I get my skies from, and I said, well, I get them from Mother Nature, and she just was like, what? I said, well, this is how I do it. I just reduce the highlights in my skies, add some color. Like this could be where you throw in some tints. Actually choose tint. And if you want to add some pinks or whatever in the sky, like the sun setting, you could totally rock that right here. So, add some storm clouds or something. So that's how the highlight brush works. Anything that's blown out, like on a wedding dress or anything like that, you take that highlight brush, you reduce it, and bring those highlights back. So that's that. That get your highlight brush. So now I'm going to go back to the photo I was originally working on that we were destroying. It's this family. Oh, no, it is not this family. It is this family. Here we go. And it was beautiful family. I know. It's not. It wasn't this one, but it was close to this one. So we're gonna just stick with this one, I think. Let's see. Nope, you know what? It was this one. Let's use the one we were working on so that it's all the same. There we go. There's my family. Welcome back, Petta's family. So now we've done temp, tint, exposure, and highlights. Like I said, I don't use contrast a lot. It's up to you. Now, shadows, you can control the overall shadows in a photo here. That will reduce all of my shadows. Oh, I'm in the brush mode. So here, and that can reduce all of my shadows. Or if you only want to, I'm going to control Z that. If you only want to control your shadows in one spot, then you choose a brush, shadows, and just brush where you want to control those shadows. Whether it's to reduce the shadow or add some shadow, that's where you do it. Same with your whites and your blacks. You can either control them over the whole photo or just wherever the certain spot that you want to control you. That's when you use the brush. So your brush just kind of gives you more control of where you're going to be making that adjustment instead of making the adjustment to the whole photo. So the last two that I'm going to go over, because this video is getting super long, is burn and dodge. Now I showed you how to darken this here. When you burn something in a photo, you're making it darker. And that's another way to add that darkness to the bottom. And when you want to lighten something, you choose the dodge. Did I get that backwards? It's burn to darken and dodge to lighten. But I'm not going to go back and restart this video because it's 12 and a half minutes long and I'm not going to do this over. So burn is going to darken wherever you spray it. See? And dodge is going to lighten it. And the way that I remember that is burn makes things black. And I don't really have anything for dodge, but as long as I can remember burn makes things black, then I can remember that dodge makes things white. So that's just a quick overview on how brushes work. Again, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below and I will answer them for you if this is not what you're wanting to learn about brushes. Alright? Have a great day, guys!